along with Town Manager Michael Units. We stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, on the agenda, firstly on the agenda is on the licenses and permits, an application of Brian Caldwell for a one-day all-alcohol license to be utilized at the Everett Park on Saturday, August 12th, 2017, from 12 noon to 6 p.m. for a private party. You all have his application in your file, I hope. The fire chief has signed off along with the police chief. It's a private party of 80. And it's a BYOB. Anyone have any questions? This is all alcohol. Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the one-day all alcohol for Brian Caldwell, 237 Mansfield Avenue, for the Parker Recreation Facility from 12 noon to 6 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Bramwell?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. Thank you. Other announcements? Mr. Salvo?
Mr. Chairman, I have Norton Park and Recreation Annual Spring Easter Egg Hunt will be held on Saturday, April 8th at 1 p.m. on the Town Common. This is a free event for the Norton residents ages 2 to 8 years old. Bring your own basket or a bag to collect eggs in your child's corresponding age group area, and bring your camera to snap pictures with the Easter Bunny. There will be farm animals to visit, face painting as well. Be sure to be on time so you don't miss out on the fun. Collecting the eggs will begin at approximately 1 p.m., and that is on April 8th at 1 p.m. on the Town Common. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mrs. Steele?
Nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Bramwell?
Nothing.
We have a rabies clinic, make sure I got the right date here, to be held at the Norton Fire Department at 70 East Main Street on Saturday, April 1st, 2017, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. It's $13 per animal. Dogs should be on leashes and cats in a carrier. And dog licensing in the town clerk's office will also be open to process dog licenses during the clinic. So altered dogs are $16, unaltered dogs are $21, and it includes late fees of $5 as of 3-1, and additional $1 as of 4-1. The Xfinity Center is interested. If you're interested in joining the Xfinity Center, they're hiring ticket takers, ushers, security, guest services, maintenance, cleaning, parking, brand ambassadors, and food and beverage positions. They have a number of job fairs, one on Tuesday, April 5th from 4 to 7, Wednesday, April 6th from 4 to 7, and Saturday, April 9th from 10 to 2. And it'll be at the Xfinity Center Backstage Catering, 885 South Main Street, Mansfield, Massachusetts. If you cannot make it, you can email Xfinity Center AMP /seasonal-jobs@livenation.com, and an application and instructions will be sent to you. Next on the agenda is to talk about, under new business, is discussion of Board of Selectmen vacancy. Mr. Units?
As you know, we have a vacancy on the board due to the resignation of Mr. Giblin. And in the town charter, when there is a vacancy on the Board of Selectmen, there's the selectmen may call a special election to fill the vacancy. Doesn't say you have to, but you may. And the other provision would be if the selectmen decided not to call a special election, if 200 voters requested it, then you'd have to schedule an election. And the election would be to fill the 1 year. The term is 1 more year.
So obviously the other opportunity is not to backfill the position. This is the one position in town that we cannot make an appointment. It has to be an elected position. So we have to obviously follow the guidelines of the town charter. It does call for a special election if we want to fill a vacancy, or again, if we decided not to, 200 voters could force us to fill the vacancy. So, having said that, we do have a guideline set up by Mr. Units as far as if we were to decide to, I guess there's a couple of questions that we decide to do it, first of all. If we should decide to do a special election, it would be held on June 6th, 2017. And it would be as follows. It would be for a one-year position. The last day to obtain nomination papers would be Thursday, April 13th. Last day to submit nomination papers to the Board of Registrars would be Tuesday, April 18th. Last day to object or withdraw would be Thursday, May 4th. Last day to register to vote, which is 20 days prior, would be Wednesday, May 17th. Last day to post a warrant would be Tuesday, May 20th. And the deadline for absentee ballots applications would be Monday, June 5th. And again, the special election will be held on Tuesday, June 6th, 2017. Anyone have any thoughts on what you feel the board should do? Mr. Bramwell?
In our packet, there are two options, either the June 6th that you mentioned, or May 30th.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think between the two, the June 6th makes the most sense.
May 30th, the day after Memorial Day,
Yeah.
so.
I think, and then on top of it, I think for a position such as the Board of Selectmen, we want to give people as much time as possible to make the decision and get their paperwork in. So I definitely would be in favor of holding special election on June 6th.
Anyone else? Comments? Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to call for a special election to be held on, the day is June 6th. Tuesday, June 6th, 2017, to fill a one-year position as a member of the Board of Selectmen, and to follow the special town election guidelines as written in the handout.
So moved.
Second.
There's one question I have, Mr. Units. You know, our recent elections haven't been that, I mean, we're lucky if we get 800 people to come out to vote. And I'm wondering if we should, instead of having opening up the high school and building all that stuff, you know, in the gymnasium, I'm wondering if there's maybe maybe we could ask the town clerk and maybe another opportunity to maybe have a smaller version of that somewhere. And I don't know where that is, but I just can't see us putting up all these voting booths and everything else, and then have 200 people show up. But, I mean, I'm open to listen to what anyone else has to say. People normally have been used to, in recent years, going to the high school. I get that. I just don't know that we have to have as big an area.
We don't need the area, but I mean, we have to have the 5 precincts. So, I mean, we're going to need some space anyways.
Yeah, right.
And I think just out of continuity, people know where they go to vote and even what section of the gym, and I think it makes sense just to keep it
Okay.
where it is.
Everyone else okay with that? So, so the election would be held at the Norton High School. Is that right? Okay. So that would be part of the motion. And we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Bramwell?
Yes.
Mr. Steele? Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
I too vote yes.
Mr. Chairman, when would they be able to obtain papers? Tomorrow?
You know that?
I don't know that. I would imagine, I'll check with the town clerk. I'm not sure if it'll be tomorrow or next week. I don't know what she has to do to get them ready, but possibly it could be tomorrow. So if anyone wants to pull out papers, they should contact the town clerk.
Yeah. Next on the agenda, we had Mr. Paul Vassell, who's going to come here tonight to talk about LED streetlights. He couldn't make it tonight. He's a bit under the weather, so he's going to be put on next week's agenda for discussion. Under old business, we have review and sign the vote taken on March 9th, 2017 meeting on the ballot question regarding override for the Norton Public Schools and general government. Stevens?
Just the question, you all have a copy of it, as it would look on the ballot. And it's also in the box for signature. And it reads, shall the town of Norton be allowed to assess an additional $2,168,774 in real estate and personal property taxes for the purpose of funding the school and general government operating budgets for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2017, as follows: $1,081,007 for the Norton Public Schools, $1,087,767 for general government. And then there's two blocks, one yes, one no. And provided further that said question shall be deemed approved if a majority of the persons voting thereon shall vote yes.
Any comments or questions? Mr. Bramwell?
When we spoke about this last week, I had a concern and a continued concern about the way the question is written now. It kind of earmarks where the override money would go. And I have a concern, like in the second year after this, that, I mean, if we have people come and vote for money for the general government with the idea that we want to expand and have the Chartley Fire Station and have the Council on Aging and other such services in the override, I want to make sure that the money is available in the succeeding years on a similar split. And there, I know there's no way we can earmark the funds and force it, but I want it noted almost like as a gentleman's agreement that the two sides of government take the override portion, split it in a similar fashion for the, remaining for years to come. And so that the gains of the people that we hire and the fire station that we open, we don't have to close or fire in succeeding years because the school side of government needs more money and takes it from what we got.
I think what you're referring to, in recent years, we've been doing a 70-30 split, where schools get 70% and town government gets 30%. And I agree with what you're saying, by the way, that, if we're earmarking 50-50, and that's what this is, that in future years, it should somehow, if this does pass, there should be the opportunity somehow to set this off to the side and say, here's your budget, this is your available funds, and this is what we approved at a town meeting, election, whatever. And continue to keep that split at 50-50%. Is there such a thing? Mike, have you ever heard of anything like that in any other town?
To actually dictate where the money's going to go the second year?
Yeah.
No. Because by law, it's
All put back in.
all put back in, and then we have to rely on the proper budget process to make sure that everything we put in place this year. And I know I've talked to the superintendent about that, and obviously, if money gets added in to put things in, we don't want to do it one year and then have it go away. So this would be sustainable over the next few years. You're not going to just all of a sudden change and say, all right, next year we're getting all the money and you're going to close that fire station. It just wouldn't happen. And I'm confident the way we've worked together the last few years that we can do that.
My personal opinion, I know in the override money, we're earmarking a certain amount of money for renovations of the Chartley Station to open it. That money, after the Chartley Station is open, I would like to see go towards either a savings fund or some kind of a fund to be able to build a council on aging or build a town hall. And I don't know if it goes into like capital, the capital expense.
Stabilization.
But even sub-classify it for future building of a council on aging or a future town hall, just so that we're almost building for the future, and don't take that that, I forget, it was about 150,
125,000.
okay, 125,000. I don't want to, I'd prefer not to go and use that on salaries or other things. I'd like it to be at least, again, a gentleman's agreement or the plan that after we open the Charlie Station, every year we should take that portion of our override funds and have it go into a building account.
Maybe one way we could do it is to ask the town manager, who is the financial officer in the town, that in years, as we move forward, to separate that from the general account so we can see where that money is being utilized and where it's going to go. Maybe that's the only way we can look at it. It's going to be up to us to watch it,
Oh, I understand that.
right? So if it's clear to us of where that money was appropriated and where it's going to go in future years, at least we have a ballpark idea of where it went to. And I totally agree with you. I mean, if this money is being shelled out now, the second year, if it reverts back to 70-30, then, the school's getting $1.5 million, and we get 500,000 in roundabout way. So that's not the intent.
And if it's voted in, that's not the intent of the voters.
Right.
And I think more than anything, I'm voicing this so that members of the school committee understand where I'm coming from.
Right.
And also members of the finance committee, because they're going to have a lot of say in the succeeding years about where that money is spent.
Right.
And I want them to remember that if the voters decide to pass this override, they have in their mind where the money is supposed to go. And I want to make sure that they remember that that's the way the voters understand it, and that they continue to honor their wishes.
Okay. Anyone else? Comments?
I have a comment.
Good. So,
The phone calls I've been getting in the last few days were questions if this override did pass, what would be the projected outlook for coming back for a future override? Could it be 5 years? Could it be 10 years? Has anybody had a plan that they figure that with how long these finances would carry through?
Obviously, no one has a crystal ball, but I would say the town should be good for 10 years once this is in place. And could be longer too, but to answer your question, I would say 10 years.
So I have.
yeah. I mean, a lot of things, as we're moving along here, if we get creative and find some new growth and, if we continue to find other ways to raise revenues, hopefully this isn't going to happen. I know personally, if this goes through, I'm not going to be inclined for a long time to talk about anything like this again, because this is a little bit of a catch-up, but we're going to have to wait to see how it all works out. Mr. Units?
And just to let you know, we had said that it's 45 cents per million on the tax rate. So this amount is 98 cents on the tax rate. 98 cents per thousand.
Makes it a little bit easier to figure, I guess, that way. Think about it. If you know what your assessment value is.
Is it open?
Stefanelli.
Is it an open opportunity to speak?
Go ahead.
Well, I'd like you to know right up front that I would hope that you would rescind your vote. So that's the first thing. And I came prepared to tell you why.
Okay.
I look at this proposal and I say, hit the pause button. And you hear the pause right here tonight. What are we going to do next year and the year after? This is not to point the finger. But when you hit the pause button, it gives you an opportunity to step back and answer those questions, because there's no such thing as a handshake when it comes to spending taxpayers' money. So let me be clear. We beat them. You don't get a trophy for losing. Why did you come back 10 months later? Hello? You're not here to defend yourself. So I'm asking that this board, when I'm through with some of the reports that I have, rethink in your mind as I speak and put some thought forward that maybe this should be reconsidered and not voted on. Hit that pause button. So, I'm looking at all of these things, and I've been very involved with this, even at the last election, and the year before that, and the year before that, and 25 years we've been living within our budget. In Italian, we say "biate," enough. So enough is enough. No new taxes. You haven't really done your homework. You just backed off. You found $1 million, you're shifting, you're doing this, you're cutting back, but once that camel's nose is under the tent, he's starting to sleep. You're outside, and the overrides are in, and they keep coming, and they keep coming. Because nobody sat back and said, what are these costs going to be for pensions, for retirement, for insurance, for these people, these bodies that you own? No one stepped back. No one gave me any information last. All I heard was the pom-pom theory. I'm inspired. I'm not inspired. Now, there were people here last week. I'm inspired. Too bad you're not here tonight because I'd love to debate you. But you didn't show up. So as I give you some of the information that I've gathered, and the fact that we beat this handedly, why are you even considering it? What's happened here is what I call the giant squid defense syndrome. Squirt a lot of ink at it. Muddy up the waters, because that's exactly what's happening. It's for the children. No, it ain't, because we haven't even decided what we're going to do the year after or the year after. And when the Chartley is finished. We've never let the firemen and the policemen down when they handled it on their own and asked for things. We've always took public safety into top consideration and priority. But all of a sudden, we're stuck with, got to have an override, forever. We beat you. We don't like overrides forever. When you hit the pause button, there's a lot of data. I just had it here. Remember that ink, that giant squid? Who the hell's had time to read all of this? What happened to the meetings before, like we had last opportunity at the school, where we could go over it? Oh, it was contentious, no doubt about it. It was contentious, because there was a lot of money you were asking for, but it was soundly defeated. So now you're coming back. Who's got time to read all this? I did. I'm not happy. There's the squid, a lot of ink. Anyway, no one's taken into consideration where we're going to be 5, 10 years from now. We need a new town hall. That's an override, guys. There was $14 million in this report, the one-pager that was handed out at a meeting that said, what are your projections for the next 5 years? A lot of money. Nobody's talking about it. Get the override. Get the nose under the tent. Give me what I need. The reports that I get from the Pioneer Institute show that it makes me wonder why the transparency went away. So when I called somebody at the Pioneer Institute, and I said, well, they said to me, didn't they have any meetings before this override? And I said, no, last year they did, but they lost handedly. And now they're back. And they figured by peeling the apple a little bit, they can push it through. And then they're doing the same thing. Get the town side involved. You know, maybe they can't handle it on their own and back it up with statistics because they lost. So they'll come back, lower it, get their nose under the tent, bring the town side in, and we're sitting here wondering, what about next year? What about after we fix Chartley? Where does that money go? There's no thought process that went into it. Hit the pause button. I'm concerned that the pattern that's being created doesn't fit. They created what they called an ad hoc committee. Well, the ad hoc committee doesn't have to list on the bulletin board when their meetings are. And I've never seen any minutes from the so-called ad hoc committee. I've never seen any agenda. I've never seen any reports on what the ad hoc, oh, it's in here. No, it's in part of the ink that I threw down there when they had their final meeting. But they didn't invite the other side in where we could have our concerns answered. And we could bring out the fact that there are people who live in town who are being faced with having a water hookup from their house to the street. That's going to cost them thousands of dollars. And the water department just throws his hands up. Well, these same people have to pay for the override. Where are they going to get the money? And many of them are elder, and many of them have lost their jobs, and many of them are hurting. Where's the pause button?
I'm not.
Now, I could go on, but I'd rather see how you vote before I put my armor on. Because we're going to have time if you vote for it. And this time, no predictions. I don't want to aggravate anybody. I've already done that. This time, there'll be no tent and no camel to worry about. Beata, enough is enough. No new taxes. When is that going to sink in? I represent elders, people with gray hair, and I represent people who have kids in school, who could care less about the fees, who could care less about the buses, because they understand it's forever and ever and keeps compounding forever. That's a 2.5 override. So I'm not going to do all this tonight. I'm going to see how it goes. And I think that if there was any compassion from the selectmen, they'd step back, reconsider this vote, and put the reins on it. Make sure this is the right thing you're doing. Because to me, it doesn't look like it is. I think I'm done. Thank you for
Mr.
listening.
Stefanelli. Anyone
So-
discuss reconsideration? No? Okay. We appreciate your comments, and I'm sure we'll hear from you some more. The one thing I will say as a member of that so-called ad hoc advisory committee, that it was very obvious to anyone who asked, including yourself, because you were there, that those committees were open to the public, and participation was there, questions could be asked. So to make the assumption that that was being done behind closed doors was totally not the case. And in fact, you had every opportunity, and you were given every opportunity to address issues during that period of time. So whichever way this goes, I do appreciate your comments. I do appreciate your candor. And I always understand your passion. I get that part. So, but I think this board is going to stick with the original.
Well, the only comment I have is, and it's final, it says, I remember vividly, and I may aggravate some people, but so what? I remember Obamacare. Pass it, and you get to read it. That's what's happening here. Pass it, and you get to see it all. And you pay the price down the road.
Trying to do that again, aren't they?
Pardon me?
Trying to do that again, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, but the people are speaking up. And it could go either way. And now I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Stefanelli.
For
Anyone
now.
else? Here's your opportunity if you'd like to say something.
I'm done. No, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Ralph.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me speak.
Okay. We have next on the agenda is to discuss and vote and/or vote on the draft of the May 8, 2017 Spring Annual Town Meeting warrant articles.
Still waiting for town council to finish the review, so,
Well, they haven't had any chance to review it on them?
no. Still
Nothing
working
that you want to discuss tonight, then?
No.
Okay. We'll have that on next week's agenda.
We'll continue to have it on.
Okay. Okay, next we have Town Manager's Report. Mr. Units?
Just wanted to thank Wheaton College for allowing us to use their computer lab in the science building today for a 2-hour training for our department heads. That was great of them. It was spring break for them, so it was available for us. Just want to let everyone know that the zoning articles will be, have public hearings on all 3 articles next Tuesday, March 21st, in the library at 7:15. If anyone's interested in participating in those hearings. And if you want to send any comments in the meantime, the town planner is looking for comments. Just an update again on mailboxes, we can't be out there constantly replacing and repairing mailboxes. Just a reminder to people that they don't own, if you don't have a sidewalk in front of your house, that area from the edge of pavement going back, in most cases, about 8 feet is part of the street layout. And if you put a mailbox right on the edge of the pavement, you're risking that it's going to be knocked over. So we do what we can to put them back up, but we're not going to be out there buying mailboxes that get knocked over when the snow is plowed and pushes into them. Just to update on FinCom, all departments have been to the Finance Committee to present their budgets. Southeastern Regional's coming next week, and then the Finance Committee will be taking a vote on the level services budget. Nothing to do with the override portion of the budget process yet.
On the level services, I was listening to the meeting last night. What are the shortfalls on the government side and school side, do you know?
The total shortfalls right now, $130,532 from the level services budget. The budget that the school committee submitted was the budget that was above level services that included kindergarten, full-day kindergarten, and so with that added in,
I think I'm more curious about the level
Yeah.
funded budget myself. I'm not looking for someone's wish list. I'm
Yep.
looking for what it's going to take to continue to run the town based on what we're doing in
general government side,
2017.
110,000, and school side, 74,000.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Let's see, we have Selectmen's report and mail.
I don't have anything.
Mr. Salvo, nothing? Mr. Steele?
Nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Brownwell? I don't think I have anything either. Okay, warrants and minutes. Mr. Salvo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'd like to approve the biweekly payroll for the period ending March 11, 2017, warrant number 55, dated March 16, 2017, in the amount of $1,236,171.62.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to approve bill warrant number 56, dated March 16th, 2017, in the amount of $461,931.05.
Second.
Motion and second. On bills warrant number 56, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous, thank you. We don't have any minutes. Next meeting's agenda, so far, we have the discussion about, with Paul Vassell about the LED street lighting conversion program that's ongoing on out there. It could save the town a lot of money. And also talk about the draft May 8th, 2017 spring annual town meeting warrant articles. Anything else?
And Southeastern Regional will be here to present their budget.
In Southeastern Regional. Okay. Anyone have anything else they'd like to bring up? If you think of something during the week, feel free to give Mr. Youngs a call, and he'll add it to the agenda. Okay. Executive session, nothing. Okay. In that case, I will need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.